In 2016, I achieved what I believe will always be my greatest car deal achievement. 2 years prior to that, in 2014, I had purchased my absolute dream car, a 2008 Lamborghini Murcielago LP640 with a gated shifted manual transmission. It was a Verde Ithaca car and it was perfect. It was one of the best examples that exists still worldwide, but I had a gigantic loan attached to it, and through telling the market, we'll say, how rare and how significant and how awesome these cars were, I was able to cause them all to go up in value to the extent that I created about $135,000 worth of profit in that car that I could realize and buy this car for $120,000. That made it my free Lamborghini and the first time that I had ever owned an exotic car with a title in the drawer at home. That was wonderful because I was in a 2-year window between paychecks, between leaving Lamborghini Atlanta and finally monetizing the YouTube channel for VinWiki, and this was it, a 2007 Canadian market but US legal Grigio Telesto LP640 manual car, one of 88 built for the entire world. There were 23 for the US. It had been imported, had a US title, and it had a little bit of a story. Now, the story that I knew at the time was that the car had been crashed on a Toronto highway and then fraudulently reported stolen. And I could see that there was some damage. There were actually some pictures from a news broadcast that somebody had happened upon the scene, made a video of the car, and it was hit pretty good, but it had been repaired. And so I bought the car. It had come back into the US, actually had kind of a washed title to be clean again, even though there was clearly salvage history, and I owned my dream car outright. I drove it for a couple of years and then found the best replacement available, which ultimately became my current 07 Verde Draco repainted LP640, and I sold this one along for a little more than I had to buy the other one for. So it was a really, really good series of trades, but this was the free Lamborghini. And it was one of those cars that always felt like it got away, not just because I loved it and it kind of represented that crowning achievement of your life of trying to buy your dream cars, but because not long after I released the video on VinWiki, I got a phone call. And the guy said, "Do you want to know what really happened to your LP640? So the phone call I got was from the person who had actually crashed the car all those years ago in 2009. And at that time, he was working for the father of a girl he had just gotten pregnant. And this man was a car dealer in the Toronto area. But he didn't really want to be a car dealer. He wanted to be a drug dealer. And that is what this guy's job really was. They would cut holes in various parts of these cars, stuff drugs in them, and then sell them through auctions across the border into the US as the way to import the drugs into the United States. And if I'm honest, he didn't even really want to be a drug dealer, because what he told me was this guy had been kicked out of Iran for blowing up bazaars. So he was like a proper terrorist, banned by the government in Canada, selling cars, selling drugs. And one night they knew that local law enforcement was onto them, and they wanted to get this car, which was actually for sale on consignment, out of the showroom. And I guess they'd both been drinking fairly heavily. And so initially, the car dealer was driving the car and he was riding shotgun, but then he realized he'd been drinking too much, and so he asked the 15-year-old to drive. I guess he wasn't really that good at driving a stick. He made it about a mile, spun the car around, hit the median, and they took the dealer tag off and ran into the woods, abandoning it in the middle of the highway, as was documented on the news. And I just thought that was the coolest possible story. Now, a few weeks ago, I made a video on VinWiki talking about various cars that I kind of regretted selling, sort of the ones that had gotten away. And I listed this one alongside the Car Trek 599, the 360 Spider from the rental car company. And I said, you know, this is one that I'd really like to have back because the story was just that good and I had so many great memories in the car. And kind of in the same way that a dog chases a car, never thinking that you're going to catch it, I was not expecting the owner to reach out and say, "I really would like to sell the car." And so it came up for sale, and I really wasn't in a position to have the money or the space or the time to have another one. And so I called a friend who had been shopping for an LP640. I said, "Hey, this is the perfect car." And he bought it. He went out to Oregon, got the car back here, and today we are at DC Motorworks, where Cameron and the team are about to go through the car to see how it is after all these years. But before he does that, let's take it for a drive. Oh, okay, all right, clutch. Well, first immediate observation is that the clutch release point is extremely high, which I was under the impression by the selling person that he had just put a clutch in the car. So perhaps it's not bled the right way, or perhaps it was installed improperly and it's worn out. But I mean, it engages, it's not slipping, but it just it just releases in the top inch of the pedal range. So Camry can sort that out. But no check engine light on. The airbag light is still on. It was on when I sold it because I guess the airbags had popped in the accident and somebody had tried to rig in like an earlier Mercy airbag, which is not a good idea. It has a different pigtail on it. No, I'm not gonna make that. It's ridiculous, clutch. Yeah, so I guess somebody had tried to put an early Mercy airbag in. The clutch is ridiculous. And that's not a good idea. They have a totally different harness and pigtail. So the airbag light is still on. That'll be easier to solve with the computers we have more convenience access to now. But man, what a spec. Grigio Telesto, the Batman Dark Knight spec with the red and black Rosso Centaurus interior, black Q Satura stitching, carbon ceramic brakes, Hermera wheels. I had the calipers painted gold. They were yellow, which I didn't really feel like matched, but that was the only optional caliper color back then other than silver and black. And I love the car so much. It was in really rough shape when we got it. The dash was splitting. I had to have that recovered. There was some paint work that needed to be done to the rocker panel. There was some, I think, a crack in the rear quarter panel, stuff like that. But it was a car, and the feeling of actually owning your dream car outright and not having a loan on it was sublime. I mean, it was just the coolest thing in the world. And I remember taking it to Lamborghini Las Vegas after I'd already bought the car, mind you, for a post-purchase inspection, and they were like, "Whew, Ed, this is a real basket case. I hope you haven't bought it yet." And I said, "I did buy it already." And they were like, "Whew, okay." So at that point, we couldn't get the seatbelt digging to stop, so we actually had to get wire ties and push it in like the whole time. So we had to cut them and then redo it every time we got out for gas. It was a real mess, but we made it 2,000 miles all the way back home, the same drive I just did in the Veyron, and it was such a great adventure. So the accident was meaningful, but obviously nothing that couldn't be fixed, although, as I recall, it couldn't be fixed the way they wanted to in the US. So they actually shipped the car to Lebanon to repair it, thinking that in 2009 that was a better answer, and obviously the insurance got on to what they were trying to accomplish and decided not to pay. So the car was sort of fixed there, more meaningfully fixed back at the shop that I was using at the time for paint work. But now I think it looks awesome. 49,083 kilometers, so that's 31,000 miles. I sold it in the 20s, I remember. He didn't drive it all that much, but this one was so fun. I drove it to Jekyll Island and back a couple of times on some great adventures, and it was really, you know, kind of those early days of VinWiki at the warehouse while I had the roof, and it was just a perfect two-car solution, even though that other car never ran either. But, you know, it was just one of those things that was like exactly what you hoped it might become. Come on, come on. I'm gonna make that left actually, because that U-turn's not gonna work. Wow. All right. It just felt like the recipe of becoming who I wanted to be. And you know, sometimes, you know, you buy your dream cars in a variety of contexts and for a variety of reasons and in a variety of ways. But the fact that the cartwheel of a deal to end up owning it for free had actually worked. I mean, I was pinching myself so hard just to believe it was real. Oh, it sounds so good. Shifts perfectly, does everything it needs to. And that's why having a bad story at this point, so many years removed, it doesn't matter anymore. It just makes the car more interesting. I love the Draco car, but this thing is wonderful. They have installed this atrocious ducktail spoiler, the exact same ducktail spoiler that was on my black LP640 Roadster when I bought it, and that needs to be removed because obviously it displaces the small wing that pops up at the speed we just got to. So I've got a new error for that. But other than that, the things that we know are wrong are wrong. Nothing else seems that bad. What a car. So sometimes things work out exactly the way they should, and I am so happy for my buddy who'd been looking for a Murci for so long that he ended up with such a great one. Cameron's got another one to run through the shop, and there is another manual LP640 in the Atlanta area, and I get to see it. It's just so good, such a great looking car, and I cannot wait to see how the story continues. I'm at the Lars Anderson Auto Museum, home of America's oldest car collection, and they are holding a raffle where one of you is going to win this Porsche 992. You can enter at the link in the description below, and you will have an amazing car, but much more importantly, you'll be helping keep America's car culture alive. The Lars Anderson Auto Museum is the hub of New England car culture, and that is why every week here on the grounds, there's something amazing happening. So if you're in the Boston area, come say hey, and either way, enter to win this thing, because it's awesome.